Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be going through a team reveal. I think this is like the fourth one or so, as a lot of things have changed, as well as we still have almost a rolling player introduction, almost in a sense. We're still waiting on Siddle's price as well as the Hobart International's price, even though that Hobart International won't have any SuperCoach relevant, I should say. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to do an update as we did get some major injuries, and then that sort of flip-flopped the squad a little bit, and how I've sort of set up and planned, and how I think my ideals have changed a little bit, and how I sort of see the game, as I am sort of a little bit more conservative in holding the big name players, and I think yeah, I think I think that's the next step, is still holding the ideal of the sort of status quo, I guess, in a way of trying to stay away from batters, especially on field. But definitely, I think you can flip the top price guys around, and you can flip them around quite easily. So anyway, let's just jump into this video, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So Joe Clark, currently playing for Victoria in the Caribbean, which is quite a weird one to see. Not keeping, but he has scored a couple of 30s there in, I think, back-to-back games, which I don't think is the worst. I think a lot of people are looking a little bit too much into it. If you actually looked at his power play score, he was like 30 off about 15 or so in the power play, somewhere around that marker. Maybe 28 off like 16, somewhere around that 160 strike rate bonus. He was at 61 or so points at one point in the game, I believe. 26 runs with the bats, 25 bonus, and then a catch as well. So yeah, that's sort of what I expect from Clark, because I expect that the bouncier tracks at Optus will actually help him out a lot more. He was playing the paceman really well. It was just the spinners that were really, really slow, and it was just a turning track over in the Caribbean, which is stock standard for the Caribbean. But I think that Joe Clark will be a lot more suited to the Australian decks, and that'll help him out. And I think the extra pace at Optus and then also at the MCG against Brisbane should help him out quite a lot. So that's why I have him locked in, especially with the no news currently about Josh Inglis. I don't think he's going to debut for Australia yet, and obviously they do have the test match on the 14th, I believe it starts on, out the Gabba, which he could be involved in, but if he isn't, they may release him, but I don't think they will. So there's too much chaos there for me to pick a Hurst at the moment. Doran, the obvious non-keeper. You want to keep it cheapy because we now have the flex position, and there's also no keepers that are actually going to play. Given there was even a report out that they may decide not to go with Harper, and they may just decide to go with an extra batter or bowler, etc. So they could be, if I just bring up my Twitter for a second here. Let me go here. It should work here. I think it was Honeyball that did it. Let's check here. So there we go. Let's just grab this up here. Yeah, they sort of predicted that they would go with a slightly different side. And then there's obviously the Hobart recruit there. If I go to who I have it, if I go to Google Sheets, it would be, and then sign in, etc. They should go smoothly here, and then go to BBL SuperCoach 25. There we go. And then go predicted 11s, and then we head over here to the Melbourne Stars. I currently have them going the 4 bowlers here, as well as Sam Harper, because they have Stoinis, Maxwell, and Webster, which makes it 7 guys. Some have suggested that Peter Siddle might play in turn instead of Harper. I could see that. I don't necessarily think that will happen, but I could see that. I could also see them going potentially Campbell Kellaway, but then Campbell Kellaway at 7 is a little bit iffy, I feel like, because he doesn't feel like that type of finisher. He feels like more of the guy that should bat 3 or 4. And are you really going to bat like Stoinis at 7 or something like that? I feel like that's a little bit wasted there. So that's why I think that Jake Doran is the best guy to have rather than Harper. Even though Harper might play, I just don't think he's in a valuable position. Especially with Duckett coming in, taking over the gloves. It's not that, he's just not going to play that well, I don't think. Maxwell, I have him currently with the effective captaincy. I will switch this to a VC on the first, probably the 14th or 13th. I'll probably switch that to a VC. just sort of shows the projected round one. But yeah, he's in the side currently, and what I was talking about in the intro is that I think, more receptive to the Maxwell to short, because basically the plan right now, and I don't know how I'll make the cash to do it in round 3. For round 3, I don't know. But the plan right now is to go Maxwell to short. And that is basically through a Tom Rogers and Fergus O'Neill down to like a Spencer Johnson, or who plays the double in round 2. You've got Adelaide and also the Perth Scorchers. Perth Scorchers don't really have a 120k player, so it may need some tweaks around there and some hopeful cash gen. But Maxwell to short, and then get Rogers and O'Neill down to like Buckingham or something like that, who is expected to play, etc. Something like that. And then, so that'll get me to short, but then I need Maxwell back for round 3, which round 3 is probably going to be through the likes of Hardy. And then hopefully at that point, I will have Maxwell, I'll have short Maxwell, Overton, Webster, Curran in my lineup there. And then also for round 3, the plan is to have hopefully another sixer or 2, because I will have Philippi, I think, in this slot here. But hopefully grab up an Edwards or Abbott, as I'm not necessarily starting with them, because I think that Rogers and O'Neill will score more points, and then I'll be able to shift them on for cash generating assets, and also for a striker slash a Perth player. If it is Ty or something like that, it may be that. Let me just go to the Perth players. If you will load for me for a second here, Perth bowlers. Let's just check here. You've got Ty and Richardson are sort of the ones that you could target potentially. Ty does have 47 break even, which he goes down roughly about 300 for every break even point that he misses. So if he was to score a 0, he'd go down probably roughly 14, 15k, I would think. So yeah, 47 times 300 is 14,100. So we go down to as a low, potentially somewhere around that 126k, and that would be in and around the range of an O'Neill or Rogers if they were to. Yeah, so that's what I'm basically referencing, is that O'Neill and Rogers should be able to hopefully get me an Andrew, Ty and Buckingham come round 2, as well as supply me with enough cash to get up to a Maxwell. So yeah, that is sort of the plan, and hopefully that works out, because if it does, and I get enough cash gen out of the O'Neill and Rogers, who I hopefully get like 80 each or so, because if they get 80 each, then they'll make some cash, which will be good. But if they get to 100, they'll make a lot of cash. But yeah, if I can get them to a Ty and a Buckingham, and have effectively 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys on the double, I think in round 2, which doesn't sound as much now thinking about it, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys already. So yeah, it doesn't sound the greatest, but it sounds like a start for it, to be honest with you. As yeah, I don't think there'll be as many guys on the double person. Oh yeah, I have who's on the double in round 2? It is Perth and Adelaide, isn't it? Perth and Adelaide, yeah. So we'll see. I think there will be definitely some changes to this. Maybe I go with another Perth player in this lot or whatever, so that it's a lot easier to get to players, etc. But we'll just wait and see about that, to be honest. But yeah, I definitely want to try and keep Curran and Webster and stuff like that. But if I have to get to other guys, then it will be what it is. As I do only have 4 guys at the moment here, and I want to get to 6 I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll get 5 in short, Buckingham 6, and then a Ty 7. So I have 7. 7 isn't as bad as what I thought. 7 or 8 on the double isn't as bad. So yeah, and trying to focus in on getting 3 big Perth players, given who they're playing. Whereas Adelaide kind of have a little bit of a tougher double, I would say, than Perth do. But anyway, enough said about that. That was a lot of just rambling that probably didn't make sense for some of you. But yeah, it's just sort of how I view BBL SuperCoach is basically having a team that's set up for 2 rounds in the future. And my team currently has one player on the double and it'll have two guys on the, it's the stars that are on the double in round 3 alongside Brisbane and Sydney. So it would have Renshaw, Curran, Webster, so that's 3 already. Stoinis probably holds, and then Mackenzie probably goes to someone. I don't know who, because he may just sit as a backfiller, almost as a until I can get him out for someone else. Maybe if someone else pops up as cash generation. That's sort of where I view Mackenzie in the first couple rounds to sort of trade him off as, given that he plays the first 3 and I don't know if he'll play after that. But yeah, I'll probably have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys on the double already before trading in, and then Philippi, so that'll be 5 guys on the double before I get probably 3 or 4 guys more on the double in when I trade into them in round 3. So that gets me up to 8 or 9 guys on the double. I think that's a pretty good and fair shout for that, given that they, that's guys like Stoinis, Webster, and Curran will probably stick around, I would expect, to be honest with you. And then, after that, I sort of just don't know what's going to happen with round 4, given round 4 is Adelaide, and I'll have Overton and Short by then. I'll also have Henry Thornton and also Buckingham by then, hopefully, as well as who else is on round 4 double. You've got the Melbourne Renegades, who I'll probably just have Zampa at that point, and I'll be probably looking to target guys like Bethel or Will Sutherland, given that they have all-rounder status, and that will sort of get me up to around about that's when I can dump someone like a Webster or something like that, or a Jai Richardson at that point, or an Andrew Ty, and dump them easily for a Sutherland or a Bethel. That's sort of how I consider that trading, and that's sort of my strategy there, and that's sort of how I look at it for the first 4 rounds. But anyway, getting back to the team itself, we talked about Maxwell, talked about Overton. Hardy was sort of the gateway to Maxwell in round 3, I sort of expect. Then, as I'll probably use Hardy, Ty, and I'll even dump all of my per Scorchers players, dump them all, maybe keep one of the bowlers, maybe keep Ty and get rid of Richardson and Hardy, and get them to the undervalued, the underpriced, Renegades and Sixers players, like I was saying. Webster and Curran, they're sort of just here, and they're very movable assets, I would say, at 160 and 154. 164 and 152, sorry. They're very, very movable, but I think that they're very, very important in the first 3-4 rounds, especially because they're going to rack up probably in the first 3 rounds. I could see Curran and Webster racking up 500 points between them, if not even more. Given that they play 5 games in the first 3 rounds. 5 games in the first 3 rounds, to average 50 odd between them, that's already, that's already 250. If not, they go even bigger. They could get 600 points between them in the first 3 rounds. And then we just move them on for other assets that have doubles. Renshaw on the bench, I think he's just a massive cash cow. And then conscious with Nick Maddison's injury, like we talked yesterday, I think he's going to be crucial. Then we get to the bowlers, Jai Richardson. Honestly, I would love to have an Andrew Ty in this spot, but because Jai Richardson at 130k, it's a little bit awkward. If he was 110k, I probably would have him, and I probably would have Sean Abbott if I could afford it, but I can't really afford it there. And Jai Richardson plays the earlier game. I probably would like it to have potentially a Richardson, Abbott, and also Edwards, but can't just afford that at this point, but it is what it is. But I would have loved to have had if Richardson was 30k cheaper, this Meredith would have turned into like Abbott, honestly, simply put, and then Abbott might have even gone on there, or might have just stuck on the bench here. But he's a guy that I want to target for round 3. Rogers, I think Rogers and O'Neill, one of them's going to take a bag, and I did sort of explain yesterday in one of my tweets that all you sort of need out of Rogers and O'Neill to be good is about 80 points, if not 90 between them, and it is so unbelievably easy for them to hit 90 points. I just want to check what's this about. There we go. If I just go to here, it should be on my replies, I would think. Here we go. So this is a way in which they can get to, what is this, 60, 80, 90. That is the easiest way that they can get to 90 points. They take 10 dot balls each. If you look at Fergus O'Neill, he's probably going to be more closer to 25 dot balls. 2 wickets, that's just 1 wicket in each game. Okay? 10 runs with the blade. If we look at Fergus O'Neill and Tom Rogers currently, they're batting pretty well in sort of state cricket. They could easily get 10 runs. A catch could easily come off their own bowling, or also off in the outfield or anything like that. And then 10 economy rate bonuses. And you can easily substitute one in for another. So yeah, and even in one good performance, say Fergus O'Neill, one good performance, he has 15 dot balls. That's not out of the realms. Say he takes 2 for 20 or 4 with 15 dot balls. That's 15 plus 40, that's already 55. We said 20, and say he takes a catch in there. So that's 15 plus 40 plus 10, that's already 65. Plus the economy rate bonus is going to be, I think, 20 at 5, I think. That's already 85 in just one game for 2 for 20. 2 for 20 with a catch is going to get him 85 or so points. That's very, very achievable. He could even take a 3 for, and a 3 for just blows this out of the water because he gets the 10 bonus. So that's why I think those two guys are very, very... You can almost have both of them in the same lineup. And I think they also will contribute with the bat because in round 1 they do play at... where do they play at? They play at the SCG. They could easily contribute there. And then they also play at GMHBA, which they could contribute there as well. And then Stoinis, he plays against the Brisbane Heat and Perth, but he's actually been playing the paceman really well recently. So I'm intrigued to see how that goes, and I just think he gets a really big role for the Stars this year. Adam Zampa plays at the SCG and also GMHBA. The two of the best spinner-friendly grounds in the country, I would say, other than Marvel Stadium. Other than Marvel, he plays at the SCG is the other spinner-friendly ground. And he plays at Marvel in his round 2 game, and then also plays at NG, which is also spinner-friendly. So he plays at spinner-friendly game, at grounds, in spinner-friendly grounds, literally until the MCG in round 5. Halfway through the tournament is when Adam Zampa finally doesn't play at a spinner-friendly ground, and he'll already have played half his games. And at that point, if I project what I'm thinking he'll do, I think he could be closer to 120, 130k, and then you just dump him. You just dump him for, maybe he's your avenue to get to a Daniel Sams. That's something I've considered in round 5 because I want Daniel Sams for round 5 because he effectively, who was it? Was it Supercoach Brain said, almost in a way, Diabolical talks about scoring opportunities for players and how they get 2 opportunities if they play 2 games, etc. I sort of almost view it as, and what was it Brain said, I think, that a player that's an all-rounder gets 2 opportunities. They get to do it with the bat, they get to do it with the ball. And Daniel Sams is one of the most dangerous players on a single because he can genuinely score 160 points. Like Webster, like Maxwell, they can tear you apart on a single. And when you don't have to worry about any other players really on a double damaging you, on a pure single round, Daniel Sams should be one of the number 1 targets, especially when he lines up for the double the next round after. So that's why I'm talking about Adam Zampa to a Daniel Sams in round 5. Thornton, he's on song. He is probably one of the top 5 bowlers in the comp for BBL SuperCoach scoring, but when he isn't on form, it's a rough watch. Same with almost Meredith. When he's on song, he just takes poles. He just literally can't see the ball. So he's been bowling pretty well in the T20 Blast over in England. And then Hamish McKenzie probably gets 3 shouts at it. 3 shouts at it. And he's also a decent enough batter that he bats above Joel Paris. And actually thinking about it, he could bat 8 for this side. He could bat 8 for the Stars, to the point that I'm actually probably going to do that now. I genuinely think this probably happens. Hamish McKenzie, and then I'll just put Peter Siddle. I think this is how they line up. And then this goes to Sam Harper here. I think that's how they line up. Hamish McKenzie at 8 with how bad this Stars lineup could be, if they get through Stoinis and Maxwell and Webster early, etc., I think he could easily come on and get a 20 off 10. Like, he's been batting like that well in club cricket, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I think he's a guy there. And then that's pretty much it for the side. A good 20 odd minute video there. I did ramble on a little bit and go on a tangent there about sort of how I view my trading in rounds 2, 3, and 4. But I think that's what you have to look at when you start a team, especially with how fast-paced BBL SuperCoach is. It's not like AFL where you can look at the scores and go, this guy had a stinker, we can drop him. No, the star players need to just generate that cash, but also generate points on field. You can't be leaving points on the bench or just leaving massive values on singles, etc. So if you can get Maxwell to short, it actually makes more logical sense to me now, especially if you can get that extra player on the double in round 1, as well as just use them as a bargaining chip to get more guys on the double in round 2, round 3, round 4, etc. Then not only are you going to probably get the best cash generation, because there's going to be guys that fall that you really need, from like the 39s and the 58s K guys that are going to have good games, but you're going to get those points early and bank them and be able to generate more points whilst others are trying to catch up to you almost. And you can almost just head them off with getting short and guys like that. But anyway, that is the video. If you did enjoy my rambling on YouTube and you were watching along with that, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on. And if you were listening along on Spotify, give me a follow and a 5-star rating over there so that I can upload more content across this BBL preseason, as well as we factor into the AFL Fantasy and SuperCoach preseason in the coming weeks. So I'll see you guys in the next video tomorrow. Bye guys.